Well, what's happening, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Wanted to hop on here real quick and talk about, is there life after bankruptcy and or foreclosure? And been getting some clients that have been coming in regards to asking questions about that. And I know there's some myths around it that you got to wait 7 to 10 years from a bankruptcy or a foreclosure. And so I wanted to just spend some time talking about that a little bit. But first, before we do that, I want to talk about the differences between bankruptcies, because there's some confusion a little bit when I'm talking to folks of whether or not they filed a Chapter 13 or a Chapter 7 without really looking at their paperwork, and kind of the differences so you understand as a consumer what the differences are. Chapter 7 is actually when you wipe all the debt completely gone. So it will be discharged and there will no longer be any other payments, where the creditors will basically take a loss and you walk away from that debt, never having to repay it again. That is a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. A Chapter 13 is actually where the trustee, along with the creditors, come up with a repayment plan based on a certain amount of years, based on a certain dollar amount, and a lot of that is predicated on your budget and actually how much money you can afford to pay back. Both of them are bankruptcies. One maybe appear to be a little bit different and a little bit better than the other, but the creditor is still agreeing to take a less amount based on the fact that they are not going to get the full amount of their the money that they lent. So Chapter 7, completely wiped away, fresh slate, clean slate. Chapter 13 is a repayment. And so how does that play into your mortgage journey? So first of all, again, it's a myth that you have to wait 7 to 10 years or wait for that stuff to come off your credit or whatever before you can actually buy a home. There are some programs out there that will actually allow you to finance 2 years from the discharge date of a Chapter 7. 1 year into a Chapter 13 in the repayment. So you would need to get the pay history and have 12 on-time payments in the Chapter 13, and you would be able to actually purchase a home, believe it or not. You can do that with on-time payments in the Chapter 13. You have to have a minimum credit score on your current credit report, and you'll actually also need the trustee's approval. They would have to approve any type of transaction that you would decide to do. But again, you don't have to wait until discharge or a certain amount of time after discharge on that 13 in order to get a home loan. So just wanted to kind of bring some clarity to that. And now when it comes to foreclosures, a foreclosure, obviously, those of you that know, a foreclosure is when the bank literally serves you notice. You have stopped making payments. You have gone 30, 60, and 90, 120 days late, and on and on and on, to the point where they will serve a foreclosure notice to you. And then typically after a certain period of time, and every bank has slightly different criteria and requirements of what they will do as far as bringing that foreclosure to an end, serving papers, and then there would be a potential eviction notice from the sheriff, and then that property would then go to a sheriff's sale. Would be basically an opportunity for people to purchase it. A lot of times the bank will show up and either buy it back for themselves or someone else will purchase that property. And again, there's no specific way on every one exactly how they do it. It's all slightly different. But foreclosures, on the other hand, require a 3-year waiting period when it comes to a foreclosure, 3 years for FHA. And so that's going to be the soonest you'd be able to buy a home outside of foreclosure. There are other loan programs out there. Some require a longer waiting period. Some will actually do a shorter period. They're called non-QM loans. If you have a bigger down payment, you can get qualified for those. But again, didn't want to get into necessarily any specifics in this video. Just wanted to kind of talk about what happens and how can you get back into buying a home after these things. And I want to speak to those that are potentially contemplating bankruptcy. And again, I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, and I'm not going to give you advice to do one or the other, but all I would encourage you to do is to know all the facts, because a lot of times when you're talking to a bankruptcy attorney, they're just looking at your debt and looking at what they can do to solve your problem in that moment, right? And obviously bankruptcy has its place. There's times where you're just in over your head and you're just never going to be able to be able to see an open sky because you're just buried. And so there is a place for that. But what I was talking to a client that was not aware of the consequences necessarily where they had filed a Chapter 13. Their house actually had been foreclosed on. They'd ran into some tough times, and so their house was in foreclosure. And so they went to an attorney, which they should have done, to try to protect everything, and got into a Chapter 13, a repayment. And the house was included in that repayment, so that it kept it from being foreclosed on, and made payments into that Chapter 13 for a couple years. And then they lost their job and was not able to continue. And so that bankruptcy ended up getting dismissed. And because of the dismissal, the bank did not do some of the proper things necessary, didn't communicate and let people know, let the clients know that the home was going to be continued foreclosing process. It was a smaller bank. And so therefore, when you look at the guidelines in regards to, the sheriff sale and then to the final end sale and all the things that we would register, what the countdown is from the waiting period for them, there was no sheriff sale that took place. It was literally a sale from them owning the home into going directly to the new owner, which just recently happened. And unfortunately, because that is considered now a short sale, and there's no in between because the bank didn't do some of the necessary things, they now have to wait 3 years from that date. And so again, I don't have legal advice for anyone. I just want as a financial person, as somebody that deals in people's credit and looking at clients' circumstances and their budgets and things that I've been doing for a long time, it's always good to have all the information in front of you to understand what to expect. So if you can't avoid bankruptcy, you want to know, okay, if I file a Chapter 7 and I include a home, what does my time frame look like in order for me to get back into purchasing a home and becoming a homeowner? And you want to have those facts in front of you so that you can make a very well defined decision around that, and you know what to expect. And then you can obviously, if bankruptcy is the only way to go and you have to wait that time, well, then you understand that you can't buy a home unless you have an enormous amount of money down and decide to do a non-QM type of loan where you'll pay a higher rate and those types of things, that you have to wait a couple years. And again, it's just having all the information in front of you in order to make that decision. So anyhow, is there life after bankruptcy and foreclosure? Absolutely. There's mortgage life after that. And it's not as long as you think it would be. A lot of the things that are swirling around out there amongst family and all that kind of stuff. I want to encourage you, question everything, right? So if somebody tells you something, don't take it for factual, especially somebody that maybe is not dealing in the finance world. Just a lot of things that I hear that go around, and I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. I'm not sure where that information came from. And so a lot of it swirls around families, or somebody heard somebody say something, they say something that thought that this is the time frame that it takes for this or this or this. And you want to get the facts. So you definitely want to get with a mortgage advisor to talk about your options, talk about where you're at, but don't let a bankruptcy on your credit report hold you back from at least having those conversations so that you know what to expect. They can pull your credit and basically say, okay, or look at your bankruptcy paperwork. But obviously when it comes to one of the quick things that I'll wrap up is you also want to make sure that you have established credit since the bankruptcy. That's very, very important that, you've got at least one or two smaller trade lines. Again, I understand that people are very reluctant to do that. They just filed bankruptcy to wipe everything clean. And why would they want to go back out and get a credit card or get a car loan or whatever else? They're trying to literally stay out of debt. And I get it. But you have to be able to show the bank, the investor, the lender, that you have the capabilities of making payments, borrowing money and making payments, so they have something to build a credit profile on to make a decision in your favor in order to qualify you for a home. So those are a lot of things to consider. But again, talk to a mortgage advisor. If you have any questions, leave comments below this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, bye for now.